Once upon a time, in a land of wide rivers and tall mountains, there lived a young traveler named Elias. He was not a rich man, nor a powerful one, but he carried a dream in his heart so big that sometimes it frightened him. Since childhood, he had heard stories about a place beyond the mountains where life was brighter, opportunities were greater, and people lived with peace in their hearts. Everyone in his village spoke of that land with wonder, but most never dared to go. For between his village and that land lay a great canyon, and across that canyon, people said, there was only one way forward, an invisible bridge. Elias would often stand at the edge of the canyon and stare across. The other side seemed so close, yet impossible to reach. Villagers would warn him, "Don't be foolish. No one can cross something they cannot see. It is better to live where you are, even if it is small and limited, than to risk everything on a step into nothing." But Elias could not silence the voice inside that whispered to him every night, "The bridge is there. The path is waiting. You must find the courage to cross." Years passed, and Elias watched people in his village grow older. Some were content, but many regretted never trying to leave. They spoke of dreams buried deep in their hearts, dreams they once wanted to chase but let fear hold them back. Elias told himself that he did not want to end up like them. He wanted to live fully, even if it meant risking failure. One morning, with nothing but a small bag of food, a stick to guide his steps, and faith in his chest, Elias set out for the canyon. When he arrived, the sight took his breath away. The canyon stretched endlessly, its bottom hidden by fog, its walls sharp and cruel. The wind whistled through the rocks as if mocking him. The path ended abruptly at the edge, and there, where the earth stopped, only empty air extended forward. Elias's legs trembled. He remembered the warnings of the villagers. What if they were right? What if there was no bridge at all, and all who tried to cross simply fell into nothingness? Just as fear began to grip him, an old man appeared, sitting quietly on a stone near the edge. His beard was long, and his eyes carried the calm of someone who had seen many journeys. Elias bowed and asked, "Sir, do you know about the invisible bridge?" The old man smiled gently. "Yes, I once stood where you stand now. The bridge is real, but it cannot be seen until you take your first step." Elias frowned. "How can I step onto something I cannot see? What if I fall?" The old man's voice was soft but firm. "That is the lesson. Life is full of bridges we cannot see. Faith, courage, trust. These are the stones that appear only when we move forward. If you wait to see the whole path, you will never begin. You must believe enough to take the first step." Elias's heart pounded. The words made sense, but his fear was strong. He stood at the edge, his toes almost hanging over. He imagined falling into the fog, disappearing forever. His hands shook. He looked back at the village far behind him, safe but small. Then he looked ahead at the unknown, terrifying yet full of promise. He remembered his dream of a brighter life, and before fear could pull him back, Elias closed his eyes and stepped forward. For one terrifying moment, he felt nothing under his foot. But then, to his amazement, something solid held him. He opened his eyes and gasped. Beneath his foot was a faint stone glowing softly, floating above the canyon. His chest filled with wonder. The bridge was real, but as he looked ahead, the rest of the path remained invisible. Only the stone beneath him existed. He turned to the old man in shock, but the old man only nodded as if to say, "Now, keep going." Elias lifted his other foot and stepped forward again. Another stone appeared. Every time he moved, another stone revealed itself. Step by step, the invisible bridge unfolded. But each time, he had to trust without seeing the next stone. Halfway across, the wind grew fierce, the fog rose higher, and doubts flooded his mind. What if the stones stopped appearing? What if the bridge ended in the middle of nowhere? He froze, unable to move. As he stood trembling, voices of the villagers echoed in his head. "Don't risk it. Stay where you are. Dreams are dangerous." His knees weakened, and for a moment he considered turning back. But then he remembered the regret in the eyes of the older villagers who never tried. He whispered to himself, "I would rather fall trying than live forever wondering." With that, he forced his shaking leg forward. A new stone appeared. Relief and courage rushed into his chest, and he kept going. Hours seemed to pass as Elias crossed the endless canyon. At times he cried from fear, at times he laughed from joy. The stones never appeared before he moved, but they always appeared when he needed them. At last, the fog began to thin, and the other side of the canyon grew closer. His heart leapt with hope. With one final step, Elias reached solid ground. He fell to his knees and kissed the earth, tears of gratitude running down his face. When he stood and looked around, he saw a land unlike anything he had ever known. Fields of golden wheat stretched to the horizon, rivers sparkled in the sunlight, and birds filled the sky with song. People here lived with joy, building, creating, sharing. It was the land of opportunity he had always dreamed of. For a long moment, he simply stood in awe, but as he turned back toward the canyon, he saw something that surprised him even more. From this side, the invisible bridge he had just crossed was now fully visible. A solid path stretched across the canyon, glowing like a ribbon of light. Elias realized the truth. The bridge was never absent. It was always there, but it only revealed itself after he chose to step forward. Tears filled his eyes as he understood the lesson. The old man's words came back to him. If you wait to see the whole path, you will never begin. Life itself was like this bridge. We all face canyons, fear, doubt, uncertainty, failure. The way forward is invisible until we move. Many never cross because they wait for certainty. But those who take the step, even trembling, discover that the bridge appears beneath their feet. Elias built a new life in the land beyond, but he never forgot his journey. He often returned to the edge of the canyon where new travelers stood with fear in their eyes. And just as the old man once guided him, Elias would say gently, "The bridge is real. It will not show itself until you step, trust, and walk forward." Years passed, and the story of the invisible bridge spread far and wide. People from many villages came, each facing their own doubts, each standing at the edge. Some turned back, unable to believe. But many, inspired by Elias, chose to step, and in doing so discovered their own courage. And so the invisible bridge became more than just a path across a canyon. It became a symbol of life itself. For every person must one day face a bridge they cannot see. Whether it is the courage to follow a dream, the strength to overcome hardship, or the faith to love again after pain. The bridge is invisible, but it is always there, waiting for the brave heart to step forward. Elias grew old, but his heart never stopped glowing with the memory of that first step. When people asked him the secret of his journey, he would smile and say, "I was afraid too. My legs shook, my mind screamed at me to stop. But I chose to move anyway. And when I did, I discovered that faith is not about seeing the path. Faith is about stepping into the unknown and trusting the path will appear." And so, dear listener, remember this truth in your own life. You will face moments where the way forward is hidden, where fear tells you to stay where you are. In those moments, think of the invisible bridge. Do not wait for certainty. Do not wait for the whole path to appear. Take the first step, even if your heart is trembling. For it is only when you step that life reveals the stones beneath your feet. And one day, when you look back, you will see that the bridge was always there, waiting for you to trust it.